Hello, my name is Kshitij Kapoor. I'm representing Obra Tompkins High School in mobile application development, and this is my project. It's called Meets. Before I start talking about my project, however, I'd like to talk about the reason why the project is a new innovation in the field of professional social media applications. And that's because there's a very clear problem in the status quo regarding these applications. Because right now, platforms such as LinkedIn have a large oversaturation problem. Meaning, there's so many people on these applications and so many employers who want employees through these applications, it essentially has become so competitive that there is no longer any personal or personable interaction between employers and potential employees. What do I mean by this? Well, making a LinkedIn profile has essentially turned into a game. If you were to look up best ways to get a job via LinkedIn, almost all of the results will be something like this. Ways to use LinkedIn to get a job via building your own LinkedIn profile or making your resume known on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, that essentially creates, in my eyes, a barrier between employers and potential employees. Because employers will judge an employee in his or her entirety by simply looking at a resume before even meeting the person. And that's essentially a large problem that I think needs to be addressed. So, what's the solution? Well, instead of employees being the ones marketing themselves, employers will be the ones to reach out in Meets. Companies will reach out by adding posts of Zoom meetings or Google Meets meetings that they can host at any given time and add these posts which users in the relevant industries of these companies will see. So, for example, if I was Google and I was looking for new jobs, I would add a post with a specific time and a Zoom meeting link, and though that post will be shown to users who are in the relevant industry, namely the computer science industry, and those users will be able to attend the meeting and learn about the job position at Google in a more personal and personable way, and will be able to ask and answer questions that Google may have or that they may have. It simplifies the entire process of resumes into actual personal interactions. That's why it's so useful in the field of professional social media social media companies. Next, I'd like to talk about how it's made. I used two primary technologies in developing this application. I used MongoDB and React Native. First with MongoDB. MongoDB is a simple backend solution which all it does is allow me to connect my code to the backend in a way that'll store all of my data that I need. What is that data? Well, I'm essentially simplifying my storage into three different categories: users, posts, which companies make, and companies. So, when a user signs up, they will choose to be either a user or an employer, and the sign-up routes will be different, such that the database will update in different ways based on what the user chooses. That's why it's so useful to use MongoDB, because it allows me to organize my data as well as store it in a backend. Next, I primarily used React Native to develop this project. What is React Native? Well, it's essentially an extension of another well-known library called JavaScript, or well-known programming language called JavaScript. React Native essentially allows me to use JavaScript code to develop native applications. What does that mean? Well, native applications allow me to use one code base to work both on Apple and Android devices. Here, I can show you that I have the application running on my iPad, and it works just fine with the same exact code base. Later in a demonstration, I'll show you the application running on an Android device. It works either way. But exactly how does it work? Well, here I can go over some quick code, which will be really useful in explaining how my primary system and code logic works. So this is the code to demonstrate, to represent all of the posts to a user who is in the relevant industry. Now, ignoring all of this at the top because it's kind of like setup code, here is the first thing that does something. It's a use effect function, which essentially means it'll run first. It'll be the first thing to ever run when the page loads. Here I'm making a GET request to an API I made from scratch, which will essentially connect this code to my MongoDB database. And I'll be able to get some data from that and get a list of get a list of posts from that backend. Then I can, using this code, filter those posts, and I can filter those in a way which will allow me to sort through all of the data and only pick those posts which are in the user's relevant industry. Next, I'm going to essentially this return statement and everything following that simply represents all of that data that I just got in a nice looking way on the screen. And that's all it really is. It's a simple core logic that's being applied multiple times across the board. Finally, I'm going to move on to a little demonstration of the project. See you then. I'm going to log in as a pre-created company. So this is the email and password. And I can log in, and just in a second, the company's past meets will load in, and this is obviously not a real thing you would like to put on your website. It's just what I put there as a testing and a demonstration. So this will show the company called Terra's information, and the company can actually add their post. Let's say they want to have another presentation to outreach to people and look for talent. We can do that. So here, new opportunity for backend developers. Let's call it that. Zoom link. I'm going to put an actual link here just to demonstrate that Zoom links will work. Obviously, this isn't an functional link. It's just there for demonstration. I can put a time. So I can say 12 p.m. CST on January 8th. And I can put a body. So come work at our company and if I could type, listen to our presentation. So obviously not a real post, but you get the idea. Companies can make these types of posts, and I can add it, and it'll refresh in a second, and I can go back out. I can go to login as a user. This is another pre-created user, and I can simply log in like this and let it load in. And here I see computer science because this user is with the computer science industry. I can actually demonstrate that in my MongoDB database. Here you can see the user by test@email.com, the password, its first name and last name, and the industry, his computer science industry. And because of that, he is essentially seeing the opportunities that are set for computer science by various companies. And that's the beauty of the website, or the application. Companies are marketing themselves, because that simply fixes the oversaturation problem. Now on 12 p.m. CST on January 8th, the user can click on the Zoom link. It'll redirect him to the Zoom link, and a meeting should start. That's what my application's essential function is.